Hello, lovely you, and welcome to the Marion Rose Podcast. So, I'd really love to emphasize right at the beginning that this is about the Marion Method and all things that I enjoy. This is not aware parenting. I do have an aware parenting podcast, which is called the Living Aware Parenting Podcast. So, everything I'm going to be showing now is not about aware parenting. And I would love to say this is a new thing for me. I'm sharing from my bed with a whole load of stuff behind me because I'm in a particular phase of my life where I'm still moving around a lot of things because my lovely mum, who's 94, moved up from her granny flat when we had floods a couple of years ago, moved into my living room, and we had boxes of all her stuff. And my son has moved down there, so it's a very big, long process of still moving a lot of stuff. So every now and again, I find things from my childhood, all kinds of things. And basically, it's like now my bedroom is kind of like an apartment because I have my grown-up daughter also living here, adult daughter here with me. And it's a beautiful house that the father of my children and I built. Lovely high ceilings, beautiful decks. I love a home, and it doesn't have a lot of rooms. And we made that choice when we built it. Anyway, I don't know why I'm giving this whole background. It's because I really want to explain my background, literal background here. And I have just done the live round of a recording of my Wonder of Willingness 2.0 course. And I had a very clear calling from life with a capital L, that to just completely show up as I am. Now, I already pretty much do that anyway. But this was like next level, like not putting backgrounds in, not tidying up in any way, shape or form, sitting on my bed, because actually it's nowadays where I do a lot of my work, because my kitchen, where I used to do a lot of my work, is one big area with my mum's space. And anyway, also I have two dogs, and if you've listened to any of my podcasts or done any of my anythings, you'll know they are French bulldogs and they're very snorty. And what I've discovered from this week doing the live under the Wonder of Willingness course is that actually recording in the morning when they're still kind of quite happy, still a bit sleepy, still willing to be just lying around in bed sleeping, means that that's most meets my need for ease, and they're most likely to be most quiet and least snorty. I'm 57. I plait my hair. And I put some oil on my face. I've got some lovely new oil here, but I don't do anything else. And again, my invitation is for you to do whatever you want to do. And for me, in terms of the transmission of this work, the Marion Method, I'm being invited to show up exactly as I am, exactly in this phase of my life. So there are other phases in my life, like when we built this house new, where everything was pristine and is exquisite. And every day I swept and mopped every floor and kept everything in a pristine way. And in fact, I could talk a lot about that. Maybe I might talk a little about that. Maybe that's part of why I'm talking about this today. So what I would love to talk a little bit about today is willingness, but just as a little tastelet, because often once I get started talking about willingness, I then like to talk about the whole of the Marion Method, the whole of the theory, where it exactly fits in, and then 2 hours have gone past, and I've still got another 2 hours of things I might want to talk about. So I'd love to almost like say, there's a beautiful smorgasbord. I've been using this term recently, and I might dip in and go, oh, I have a little lunch or even bunch of grapes here. Let's have a little taste of those. And what else might you fancy? Some figs. So some lovely fresh figs. I'm going to offer you a couple of those. And there is a whole smorgasbord. And the smorgasbord can be accessed in lots of other ways. Got very dirty nails because I'm just been scratching the dogs. So part of that too is like, I do not have the thing that's the fashion nowadays. I see lots of women on the social medias and the places with very long nails. I have little short nails because I hang out with my dogs and I cut the grass by hand and things like that. Anyway, so clearly I'm being invited now to show up exactly as I am and not aim to be anything other than that, because that is the essence of the Marion Method work. So the Marion Method work, in the most briefest way, again, I'm picking up a couple of dried bananas, is we are souls of love and will. That is our true nature, immortal souls of love and will. And we come into the world and we come into a particular culture, family, time, era, and we develop personalities around our soul of love and will. And the extent to which we are seen accurately and understood accurately in the unique family and culture that we're born into, and how we then respond to that, to be as much as we can, to be safe, to be loved, to belong, and to aim to stay connected with who we most truly are, because in our true nature, as love and will, as love, we are interconnected with all that is. We have love needs for belonging and empathy and care and connection and community and all of these things. This is our true nature. And we are also beings of will. And that's where our individuality lies, our uniqueness. Each of us is a unique soul with something unique to bring to the world. And will is also related to action, to movement, to momentum, to agency, autonomy and choice, to true power, willingness, all of these things over here. So the family, the culture, the era, the time we're born into, our then interaction between the unique soul that we are and that environment affects the personality that we develop. And the more we are in a culture, in a family, in a system where our true nature and our uniqueness and our interconnectedness is truly seen and loved and mirrored and supported and respected and cooperated with and guided in the terms of, we noticed that you're interested in playing the guitar. We're here to support you with that. That might be your calling, to be a guitar player and share the beauty of guitar music and maybe make guitar music, and we're here to support you with that. So we could see it as on a spectrum, that in some cultures and families and eras and times there's very little understanding of a child's true nature. And this is, again, what I want to say, this is not aware parenting. This is the Marion Method. This is the developmental model of how we come to be who we are as adults. If we are not seen at all, and the aim of our culture is to stamp out all individuality, or we live in what I call the disconnected domination culture, which is the aim is to disconnect us from our true nature as love and to dominate over us, to disconnect us from our true powerful nature in very tangible, practical, specific ways. As we move into teenage years and adult years, we will feel less and less, our personality will be a pale reflection of our soul. So we'll feel less connected with who we really are. We will experience less safety in being who we are in our relationships when we are on a podcast, wherever it is, in our relationships, in our life, in all the places. And the more in the culture, family, time we are born into, we are seen for who we most truly are, both in our deep interconnectedness with all of life and our unique spark that only us is here to bring. We're always supported and loved and seen and guided in bringing that into the world. the more we might just find ease of I want to do this, and I love this, and la. So you might know people in your life who experience life that's more like that they just seem to, they know who they are. So on this side of the spectrum as well, and if we were to say a culture existed and a family existed, well, all families in that culture existed which were completely able to support a soul coming into the world to be uniquely themselves. A person brought up, all the people who were brought up, I don't know if I like that term, all the people who grew up, no, all the people who were children in the culture and who responded to in those ways would know exactly who they were, what they loved and didn't love. They would have zero self-judgment and zero self-coercion. So self-judgment, shame is part of the opposite of love, disconnected. They would not coerce themselves with force and guilt, and they would not get resentful and overwhelmed and burnt out, because they would be responding from their willingness, what they really wanted, what they were willing for. They would feel deeply fulfilled because they were being who they really were, with zero judgment, with zero coercion, deeply connected with all of life, able to respond to others with zero judgment and zero coercion, and actually to be a channel, also a vehicle for life to speak through them, because the more free-flowing our willingness channel is, more unsilted it is by domination, by guilt, by all the ways in which the free-flowing life energy, will energy, gets silted up by all of those things. These people would have a free-flowing willingness channel, which means lots of energy, no coercion, lots of energy. How did they do all of those things? They didn't coerce themselves. What on earth is going on? Which would also mean life would be very free to speak through them. So they would have a sense of speaking, and they're learning as they're speaking. They're willing to be in the not knowing, trusting that life has got them, life is speaking through them. So this is the aim of the Marion Method work, is to support us to get freer and freer from disconnected domination culture conditioning, which separates us from our true interconnected nature, where we are love, we know that we are love, and that includes loving ourselves, or the parts of us, or the younger parts, or the needs, or the values, or the interests, or the callings. I want to go and write a book. I'm willing to write a book. I've said somebody brought me to write a book. And we get freer and freer from the internalized domination. So rather than doing things from should and have to, rather than having a lot of can'ts and mustn'ts, rather than having a lot of guilt and coercion and resentment and all of the things that go together with what I call the will hurts, there's again this. See, my house is quite small. Bathroom's over there. People come to the bathroom. You can probably hear that noise. Or I may do a little one edit out of here. So I haven't even got the microphone on today, because when I did the Wonder of Willingness live round 2.0 version, where I was called to just show up and be exactly who I am, not even tidy up, not even do anything other than what I normally do every day, apart from perhaps put on earrings, which I don't do every day. And look at these lovely earrings that my daughter just gave me yesterday. Welcome swallows. We have welcome swallows nesting in our house, all over, inside, outside. So the Marion Method work is about helping us get freer and freer and freer from our disconnected domination culture conditioning, which means we experience less and less of the opposite of love. So we experience less and less shame, less and less beliefs there's something wrong with us innately, less and less isolation, less and less needs, I'm seeing double negatives here. I don't even like the word negatives, but we're willing for our needs to be met, for community and connection and support and empathy and love, all the love needs. And we have less and less and less and less guilt and coercion, self-coercion and coercion of others. We work in the Wu way, the effortless action. Our willingness channel gets more and more unsilted, free-flowing with life. We're willing to trust that life can speak through us and is always. And what that means is, as we get freer from our disconnected domination culture conditioning, it means that the personality that we're living in the world is more and more a clear reflection of ourselves. So we become more and more who we really are. We become more. One of my old teachers at the Institute of Psychosynthesis used to say things like the Marionness of Marion. I have become more the Marionness of me. What has that meant? I used to be completely consumed by love hurts, shame, complete alienation, disconnection, longing for a sense of being loved. I had lots of very early love hurts and will hurts. And I believe as souls that we often come in to experience the opposite of what we're here to offer. Mine was the opposite of love and will, coming in to be in an incubator as a baby, as a premature baby. Opposite of love, about as the opposite of love as you can get. Why? Because I was completely disconnected from others. Didn't have touch, holding, warmth, love, all the, in a tangible way. I was loved, but I didn't receive it as a baby in terms of, we love you, darling, we're here with you, we'll hold you, we'll keep you skin to skin as long as you need, as long as you want, those kinds of things. Opposite of love. So for many years I felt a deep sense of isolation. I was still in that incubator even when I got out. Deep sense of isolation, deep sense of I have to do it all on my own. There's no one here to support me. Nobody loves me. Lots of very, very painful love hurts. It's taken me a long time to tend to and to listen to all the pain. Gosh, I am going. It's every time I just talk a little bit about the Marion Method. I just love I love many things I love about this work, but what I love about it is there's a whole map. And there's a whole, even literally a map of the toroidal field of who we really are as love and will. And it's completely specific practices and processes. And there's all of this. And so every time when I share a practice and process, I always really would love for people to know, yes, I could show you how to gradually get free from resentment in a way that's not just about getting free from resentment. It's actually about you freeing up your willingness channel, which is actually going to mean you feel more powerful in your life, which actually means you're connecting more with your true nature as well. So anytime I'm tapping into here or talking to you about here or talking to my mentees or in this live round of the Wonder of Willingness, is the very specific, tangible practices and processes that truly do. When we practice them, they make a massive difference in our lives. And every single one of those practices has a whole philosophy, metaphysics. I don't know if that's the apt term here, but there's a totally massive, there's a big context to every single practice or action, or why I'm so passionate about words and why you'll see me choosing the words and sometimes saying no, I'm actually do not choose that word. Every single will also relate to a whole map of the human being and the relationship between our soul and our personality and the soul's journey through life. And every time I think I'm just going to say in terms of my unique soul, clearly I like talking about that. I said to myself, well, why don't I just make it come in small, an easy little topic. I'll say why I don't use the term procrastination and why I don't use the term I manifested it, and how that's relevant to the willingness work. And I didn't do that, although I might add that as a title because I could talk about that here, and I wonder if you might like to hear me talk about those things. So where did I go? This is how I talk, and I'm also really got to really understand myself. I go down I'm on a big path, or we could think of it as a river, and then I'm going down a little, actually I'm going to say path, and go down this path, and then that path takes me another path, and then I realise actually I did also want to talk about the other thing on this path. So I used to be consumed by, I was very disconnected from my true nature as love, in some ways, many ways, but also not in others. We're all unique in that way. And I was very disconnected from my true nature as well. I felt very powerless a lot of the time. I could coerce myself to the point of burnout, and I did when I was doing my PhD back in the early 90s. I felt guilty all the time. I could always find something that I could hit myself with a guilt stick about. And nowadays, I don't feel guilty ever. I'm just making sure that's accurate. Yeah, I don't feel guilty ever. I don't coerce myself. I get a lot done through willingness. I didn't understand the will at all. I've devoted, since 1992 when I first heard about the will. So I first read about it in 1988, reading the Psychosynthesis book. Oh, which one was it called? Then I started training in Psychosynthesis in 1992 by Roberto Saggioli, and there was this love and will. This is also part of their map. This is where I learnt that part from: soul of love and will, personality. So that part, really want to acknowledge, I learnt a lot of that from Psychosynthesis. And then my other parts of my learning lineage are then Aware Parenting by Aletha Salter, PhD, Nonviolent Communication by Marion Rose PhD, and The Field Project by Philip Gollerbuck. So these are the four main, and I don't enjoy pillars. Seems like to me it's quite Roman, and Romans really did a lot in terms of the DDC, although of course they did lots of enjoyable things too. Trees. I'm much more into the Druids than the Romans. Trees, the four trees. Four trees, or the four, I could see that as well, like the wells, the four wells from which I have drawn water from. And I'm so grateful to all of those people and those lineages. And so basically in 1992, I learned about the will, and you can see I was like this. I was like, do not understand the will at all. I wrote essays about it, still didn't really understand it, kind of a little bit maybe. And clearly I was willing to devote a lot to really understanding the will. Power, true power. What's the difference between true power and what I now call DDC, disconnected domination culture power? Is there a difference? I learned, what is power over? What's power with? What's powerlessness? And so each of these paradigms that I learnt from, even though they had all kinds of other things for them, I learnt things from them that I went, so if we include love and will, and this is just a very brief summary, by the way, I'm writing my book on the Wonder of Willingness, where I do talk about all of these things in a lot more depth, and my Wonder of Willingness course, which I did a transmission of in this last week, which is, it's I probably talk more about this. One of the most, I'm not going to say it, I felt so satisfied and touched and moved. I mean, literally, my core theme, one of my core themes is still being able to be heard. So again, if you followed my journey for any length of time, you would see that that's part of the theme of the cicadas and the dogs and the microphones and all the things. And over years, I've learned more and more and more to really know that I am safe to be heard. And what happened in this live round of me recording this and deciding I'm really wanting to... I'm wanting to create courses now, which isn't me thinking about them and writing them down and then, yes, doing live rounds and kind of doing the transmission through a Facebook group and a live stream. I want to, and I'm willing to, and just did, show up completely as myself, to do this on a... demonstrate, which I really like that word, live this work and talk about the work as I live it. which meant that people could not hear me at the beginning of this live round. And so I went through another layer of my own experience using the Marion Method or some of the practices and processes. I cried, I connected deeply with exactly these younger parts of me. Just shared through how I would do it if I was on my own, the practices. Got a sniffly nose. And I also just spoke. So whatever came through me, I trusted, which I do anyway, but this was new to do it in a Zoom call. Got comfortable with doing that in a Facebook group, in a course. I knew the next step for me was to really embody this, and you can see the similar quality or the same quality here. And clearly I've been moving towards that. I mean, compared to... No, not even doing comparison. Comparison is a DDC construct. I don't need to compare myself. I'm not willing to compare myself. I'm not willing to do that. That a little slipped in. I'm clearly being invited to just demonstrate the work as I am, as my unique personality and my unique soul in the world, which includes the particularities of me, my age, my house, what my house is at this moment, not a tidied up version, not in any way changed version, just exactly how it is. And to show through lived experience and just through speaking, and through then also being willing for life to speak through me what it wants to speak about all of these things, so particularly willingness at the moment, all of these things clearly, in a way which is then not trying to persuade anyone to resonate with this work, because you cannot persuade anyone to resonate with something. The whole essence of this work is one of the core parts of the willingness work. One of the core questions is always, is this a yes or a no for me? So my invitation is, and I will be doing this increasingly, I think, is as you watch, if you're watching, or listen, if you're listening, how do you feel in your body? And most importantly, do you have a yes or a no for continuing to watch or listen? And do you have a yes or a no in your resonance with this? Does this resonate with you or not? And again, it's often can be a bit of a spectrum, but usually there's a point at which it's moved to it's a yes, or towards the other side of it's a no. And what I love is over the years, I've got from more still my own DDC conditioning of wanting everyone to resonate and agree with and enjoy what I enjoy, to I'm here to be who I really am, to do what I'm here to do, to just show up as I am, as free as from DDC conditioning as I am in this moment. And I'm so willing to keep on getting freer and freer from it. And from that most resonant place that I'm able to be in at the moment, and I'm so willing for my willingness channel to get freer and freer, for it to get wider and wider, which, as I've learnt this week, is also what happens, so that my voice is more and more resonant, so that I am also willing to be heard by those, not only with whom I'm safe, but by those who, or you're scratching yourself, by those who resonate with this work and have a yes for it. Scratch, 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 scratch. Message from life. Conversations with life is part of this work. Everything that happens, we are interconnected with all of life, so everything that happens is meaningful. And so did I want to talk a little bit about those two things? Yeah, maybe I'll talk a little bit about those two. Procrastination, why I don't use that term, and why I don't also use the term I manifested it. Little summary. Procrastination. When we want to do something but we're not willing to, there are really important reasons why. And in the disconnected domination culture, most of us are taught to either judge ourselves, that's the opposite of love. Sometimes that word procrastination has a kind of tinge of judgment in it. I think it certainly became more and more used in that way as the mechanization, the industrialization, the productivity, so things became much more about let's make everything the same as fast as we possibly can, rather than there are seasons and timings, and life has timings and the soul has timings. The productivity and machines became quick, quick, quick. And of course that is happening more and more and more. Quick, 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 quick. And so instead of the idea of productivity where there might be judgment, in the DDC, the idea of productivity is should... Oh, a gecko. I just saw a gecko out the window just getting off a stick. Instead of a should, we should go faster, we should do it now, we should leads to coercion and guilt if we don't do what we say we should. And will often lead to people, because so many of us, at some degree or other, it wasn't safe for us to have a yes when we had a yes, or have a no when we had a no. I call that a slug wisdom. The slugs, you may know slugs, they straight away they know. And as we come into the world as babies, well, innately, we have that innate body wisdom, all of us. We know exactly what is a yes for us and what is a no for us. Whether that's a food, a person, an experience, or whatever. But so often growing up in the DDC, part of this conditioning, part of the personality we form, as we each have unique experiences where we were disconnected from, to some degree or other, and some of us weren't, but again on a spectrum, where we were either judged when we said, I want this, I'm interested in this, I prefer this to this, I prefer chocolate to strawberry, I want to learn to play the guitar, I'm interested in this, I love this, I love this, I love this, I want to become a concert pianist. And the ways that we were responded to, and particularly if we experienced very harsh responses, particularly which didn't meet our need for safety, to some degree or other, we have all of these inside of us, which will often show up even when we are asked a question, what do you really want? Which is one of the other core questions in the willingness work. What do you really want? So all of us will be in a different place in that, in response to knowing the answer to that question. Some of us will have no idea because it wasn't safe for us to even know what we wanted. Some of us might have an idea but be terrified if we think about asking for that or moving towards that, because we experienced things that are apt to feel terrified in response to that we do not ever want to have happen to us ever again. Various versions of these in terms of all kinds of needs, love needs, where it wasn't safe for us, and will needs, both in relation to our yes and our no, where we were shamed and judged, but also where we were coerced. We were coerced to do things we had no interest in. We felt bored out of our minds. Interesting phrase, bored out of our minds. To be coerced to sit and listen for 8 hours to something that we have no interest in, and we are so bored, it's actually really painful. Because the soul has a spark. We have sparks. I'm interested in this. So much of what the DDC does to children is like productivity. You all have to learn the same thing at the same time, at the same age, and learn it to the same degree. And we're going to judge, we're going to punish you, we're going to coerce you. Oh my God. We're going to force you to sit still for X amount of time to listen to this thing, even if you have zero interest in it, because you have to learn it. Do you know what that does to our will energy? Well, there are two options. We either go to compliance, which means we say yes to everything. We're no longer connected with it's safe for us to say no when it's a no. Just yes, compliance. It's also called people pleasing in pop psychology. So my next book is all about why I don't speak terms like this. People pleasing, what that often means is just always saying yes, because it hasn't, for some, whatever the unique reasons were, it's no longer safe, or other needs will not be met or were not met if we actually said, well, you know what, I don't really want to do that, or I really enjoy hanging out with you, and I'm tired and I don't want to go today, but I'd love to hang out another day. So we either go to more the compliance, always yes, and again I would see this as a spectrum, the most essence of compliance to the most essence of rebellion. So rebellion is always a no. Whatever anyone says, even including us, that's a tricky one. I mean, these are tricky things because compliance can also be internal, which means we can should ourselves. Should, I should do it. That's where burnout often comes from, because not only we, and again, we'll each have our own unique flavour of this. Remember, our personality is developed around our soul. Our personality is unique depending on the unique situation. So we have similarities in the DDC. So that's why even in terms of these, like each of us is so unique in terms of the particularities of how we aim to keep safe and aim to have our needs for belonging and love met. And we're so wise in that. So part of the Marion Method is unconditional love and celebration for all the ways in which we adapted to be safe, to belong, to be loved. Oh my gosh, how amazing. And unconditional love for whenever we're doing that now. And the aim being over time for us to see, oh, we really needed to do that back then. We absolutely needed to. And the feelings that are coming up are absolutely real, and they're from the past. So increasingly, we go back in the time machine with the inner loving presence process, and we realise more and more. So we increasingly live in the present moment, in the reality of the present moment, which means sometimes it isn't actually truly, we really might not be safe in the present moment, but we're responding to the truth of the present moment, not with 90% of our history with us. And I love you unconditionally wherever you're at in the journey. I love myself where I'm at in the journey. This is about, as I said, celebrating. Oh my gosh, how amazing our personality developed. And we can get freer and freer from the conditioning so that our personality becomes more and more a clear reflection of our soul. And wherever we are in that journey is we're loved unconditionally in that process. It's the whole point of the journey, is to be loved and supported in it. Well, the whole point of it. We are loved and supported in it. Now I have actually lost the track I was on. Down the mountain track. Where were we down there? I'm willing to trace my way back. Yes, so we coerce ourselves. So that happens internally. So we do these with spectrum. There we go. See what I did there? Trace myself back. Where was that last fork in the path? A spectrum here of the most we could call compliant. Again, I'm just putting a little tag on it, which my preference to say is we're always saying yes. Always saying yes. Whatever our real response is. That is this spectrum. And that, in essence, we could say is... No, I'm actually not going to say that. It doesn't meet my need for accuracy. And then the most to this end of the spectrum is always saying a no. So again, I imagine you might think of things that go in the world, and you might think, and again, this isn't just one spectrum. So we might be here in particular ways, and here in some other ways. We might be here in our relationship with men, here in our relationship with women. We might be here in our whatever. So again, we are so multifaceted. So these are just ways of understanding particular elements. But this happens internally as well, the no. So if you're listening to audio, I'm using my hands and doing things, showing a spectrum from one end to the other, left to right. No, and it's a no will mean also, even if we really want something, we'll probably be not willing to do it. So that becomes really painful too. So these things, because we internalize all of these become internal things. So I'm going to do a whole series, I think, probably next month, on why I don't use the term regulation. And again, this isn't about right or wrong. There's no right or wrong in the Marion Method. The aim is to speak language that helps us feel most connected with who we really are as love and will. And that has nuance and particularity and specificity. And in the DDC, what happens is these concepts come in and they start off with the spark of helpfulness, and they often get co-opted by the DDC. So they lose all sense of nuance, particularity, specificity, fluidity. They become tight, hard constructs. Usually then shaming comes in there, and harshness, and it becomes this hard lump of a concept rather than a fluid, helpful, interesting, supportive word or phrase that's here to help us connect with most who we truly are, our true nature as love and will, as loving, interconnected, powerful beings. So many of these concepts started off like that. Not they didn't always, but often they did. Regulation's one of them. There's a little segue into the next episodes. Similar with I manifested it. So again, I would say the spark is to support humans who were often lived within religions which basically conditioned us to believe that we have no power, that we have zero power, and so much of the experience of human beings, and still on this planet now, is so much powerlessness within all the systems, whether that's family, school, job, government, multinational corporations, whatever it is, wherever you go with that. And so my hypothesis at the moment is then when the New Thought movement came in, again I talk about this in my books, I'm just going to have a quick summary, came in with a sense of actually individuals do have more power, still in relation to what would have been called God. I call that life with a capital L, other people call that the universe. The most, we could say, the most powerful and loving. And although at some level our soul is that, we are the spark and we are the drop and the ocean, as Rumi apparently said. In terms of when we come into the world as an individual, we are an individual. We are the drop more than the ocean. And we can tap into that and we can experience elements of that. But when we're saying, I want to take action, I want to write a book, including being called by life to doing it, for me, if I said I manifested it, I would be just basically saying, that's me, it's my individual self, my personality that has a soul in it, and my soul's connected to all of life, and I am interconnected with all beings and all of life, but that I did it, I made it happen. Whereas for me, I see it as much more conversation with life. So that's why Conversations with Life is part of this. So we speak to life through our willingness, and I learnt this from Philip Gollebuck, the Field Project. It's how we speak to life. And life responds to us through the conversations, through the happenings, through all the things. And so for me, again, this lovely, this spark came in of supporting individual humans to actually have more power. So what I love to always say is that we have more power than the DDC wants us to believe we have. And there are things that we do not have power over. We're not all powerful. And I think, again, this is part of DDC conditioning, because most of us were given power as children that was not ours. We were told things like, you made me feel. We were given responsibility for the needs, feelings, and behaviours of adults. And so we were given power that was never our own. It was never ours. That wasn't our responsibility. And so again, I think part of this, the willingness work and the will work too, is about really getting clear about what is ours, how much power we do have, and where actually this is actually, at the deepest level, we are all one. But I am not creating a breathable atmosphere. I'm not creating whatever physics happens that I can sit down somewhere and stay there. Again, I learned a lot of these things from Philip Gollebuck. I do have more power than DDC wants me to believe I have. I know through lived experience many, many times when I'm really willing for something, that affects what I experience. But for me, I manifested it, takes out the conversation with life, the humility, the qualities of grace, the qualities of awe and wonder, that we are in relationship, and it's not a demand. It's not a demand. It's all the practices we go through so that we can be really, truly willing to have, do or be something, whilst knowing that life has way more information and resources than us. So we may want something, and there's a whole lot of willingness practice we can do because we may want something. And again, I learned this from Philip, and have our foot on the accelerator. We may really, 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 really want it, but we also have our foot on the brake, which is we are not willing for it. So we might really want something, we might be longing for it. We might keep on just not happening because actually we're not willing for it. And again, for really important reasons. There are younger parts of us who are terrified that if we actually speak, we will be hurt. All kinds of reasons why. Or that if we are heard, that our other values will not get met. So the willingness work is specific practices to support us to gradually take our foot off the brake and to include all the younger parts of us, all the needs, all the values, every concern and consideration, so that we come to what I call a full body yes. I know other people use this term too. The Marion Method has a specific way, because it's through these practices, the willingness practices, that we say, am I willing? And instead of, again, that kind of more that world, the New Thought movement became more and more about just thoughts, not thoughts in relation to life, not thoughts in relation to a whole embodied experience. It became more and more about, it kind of became, what often happens in kind of colonization is extracted from its context, extracted from the essential other parts, and again lacking in nuance. So this isn't it's not affirmations, it's not pretending, it's not acting as if. This work is about deeply listening to all the parts of us. And so one of the main questions in one of the, or two of the willingness practice types of practice, willingness practice are, am I really willing to have, do or be this? Once we've got clear about that. And the request is to answer that truly and honestly. Because if we were to go, yes, 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 that's a thinky answer, yes, or I think I am, or yes, what we're doing is we're answering from the part of us that wants that, but we're not including all the other parts of us that if experienced, if I do that, I wasn't safe, so I may not be safe again. So I'm putting my foot right on that brake right now until you can really give me reassurance that I'm going to be safe. I'm not willing for that to happen. Or these values here that like, well, if that happens, I may not be present with my children the way I enjoy. So again, until you've included me and you've included this value, I am not willing to take my foot off the brake. All of these elements here, and again, I've got different metaphors for them. You'll hear it if you've done did you do the Wonder of Willingness course? Hello, lovely, if you did. Talked about those things in depth and the practices and how we basically include them all so that we come to a full body yes. The full body yes means I've deeply connected to the spark of my desire, my interest, my preference, my calling, what I really want to have, to receive, to do, to move forward towards, or to be. There's 3 movements: to receive, to be, to move towards. The full body yes. Full body. So when you say, are you willing? Or I were to say, am I willing? Yes. I'm aiming to think of something that I have a full body for, so I can show you. Yes, 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 I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. My whole front of my body opens up. I feel joy. I see more clearly. I can hear more clearly. My willingness channels just got freer flowing and wider. It's an interesting noise. I can hear things I couldn't hear before. Yes. That's very different from a coercion compliant yes. It's very different from a should yes. It's very different from I have to do it. It's very different from fake it till you make it. It's very different from you gotta just force yourself even if you don't want to do it. All of these different qualities. And I'm sending love to all of us who've ever done any of those. I used to do most of those, all of them, a lot of the time. Full body yes, the power is basically saying all of me. So all of me can move forward with this open front. I can feel my gate of willingness is opened. I'm willing to move forward. And that's how I can... So I added this up. And again, I had the sense of like, I want to show, I want to do like a... People like evidence, don't they? So I'm like, life, will you help me have some evidence that this stuff actually works? It really does work. Because life, I would like some evidence. I know it does. But I would love to help people, and now more and more I'm seeing it's through just speaking like this and see if you resonate. But a few years ago I had that calling, and then I wrote about 500,000, I was going to say dollars, 500,000 words of books in about 18 months or so. But not only just writing them and editing in a very fine-tuned way, and they're all about aware parenting, so they're all edited by Aletha Salter, the founder of Aware Parenting, in very specific ways, and I edited them many hundreds of times because I wanted them to be to respect and deeply, as clearly as I possibly could, to articulate aware parenting in a way that was deeply and is deeply respectful of Aletha and her work. And that was all through willingness. I did not coerce myself once. Zero self-coercion. No guilt. If I felt tired, I slept. Didn't stay up late if I wanted to go to bed or read a novel. And I didn't once judge myself. So I didn't judge what I wrote, didn't judge myself for writing. I didn't worry about what people would think about it. Now, if you told me, even 20 years ago, that that was possible... What is that? Some kind of tractor. It's like, I wouldn't have believed it was possible because I judged myself for everything. I hit myself with sticks. I coerced myself. I didn't listen to my needs. I just... So this is, for me, also what's possible in terms of transformation. And transformation basically means, in my map, which I learned from Psychosynthesis, is to... but the particularities of how to do that is what I've developed. But I learned from Psychosynthesis It's basically just helping our personality become a clearer and clearer reflection of our soul, so that we can come and be in the world with a sense of I am me. This is much more like me, and this is my lived experience now. This is much more like me. Just showing up, sitting here with a shirt that I really enjoy. I'm sitting on my bed with little things that I love that I've been given, the pictures that my daughter's made for me, my favourite Loco Love chocolates, a little postcard from there. The rabbits that my mum gave me for Christmas, another picture, 2 pictures that my daughter made for me, a little heart that one of the twins crocheted for me. Just like, this is how I'm willing to show up, much more just me. And you might see I've actually had a calling to find a beautiful, I've got a William Waterhouse painting when I created my little recording room. Funny, hey, I've got this beautiful little room, but it's not the place I'm being invited to do it. These from here. So I actually am willing to find a painting as well that I really love, that actually I might have behind here. So that's the power of willingness, full body, and moving towards having practices and processes. So more and more and more in our life. And again, this is a journey. It's not like from now on and again, some people are quicker. We're all in a different place. For some people, it's much quicker for them to get free from coercing themselves and acting from willingness. Willingness is like the Taoist Wu Wei, effortless action. So often I find myself just doing it. Oh, I want to do a podcast on this willingness stuff. Okay. Oh, I'm doing it now, am I? Oh, okay. Oh, I'm doing it like the course now. Oh, okay. Yeah, doing it. Oh, I love doing it like this. So that's what I wanted to say. Oh my gosh, I love this. This is what I've been dreaming of. And if I were to go back and to talk to, I'm going to cry probably, 17-year-old me, who was terrified to say anything to hardly anyone, apart from my closest friend and perhaps my mum and dad, my cats and rabbits. If you told her, I am going to cry, if you told her that she would be able to just show up as herself and not think about what she was going to say and not judge herself, and to be doing what she loves every day with beings that she loves, feeling deeply connected to who she most truly is and what she's here to do in this lifetime. I don't think she would have been able to believe it. Maybe she did. Maybe I'm talking to her now. It really will happen. Really will. I can see a picture of my dad. It's magic. It's absolute magic. And I really acknowledge that I've had this calling to do this more. I could feel the gap, and this is the sense of I want to do it more like this. I know how I'm comfortable doing that within a course. People that have already signed up, I know who they are. I can do it in a Facebook group, so it's less intimate. I really wanted to do it in a Zoom, live in a Zoom with people. And that's what the Wonder of Willingness course was. Like this, times 1,000. With other people here in the call with me. At times asking questions and speaking through life. Being with whatever parts of me wanted to be there. Trusting the timing, because trusting timing also means sometimes things don't show up, because we're in a relationship with life that knows more than us. Sometimes things don't show up the way we think they will, or the timing. And the willingness work, I can support you to know what the difference is there. How do we know we're really willing and something's showed up that life knows is actually much more the thing that's helpful for us, and how we've been willing and something showed up but life's saying, inviting us to get clearer, is this what you want? And how we know when we're actually not willing, how we know when the fear that we're feeling is true about the here and now situation and when it's about the past. This work supports us to know all of those things, which my nose is a bit sniffy, hyperventilating a bit. I was crying, hyperventilating a bit probably. Oh, I love this work. I love this work and I'm devoted to it and I'm willing to keep learning more about it. Life, I'm willing to keep learning about it in the most enjoyable ways. And what that means is I've been willing to do the next steps of my own inner work and tend to the younger parts of me who are terrified. You want to show up in a Zoom call? To me, those younger parts were really scared. So I needed to tend to them and listen to them and support them and step by step do that in a process with willingness, not coercion, not what I used to do, which is either, okay, I'll never do it then because I'm terrified, or I'm terrified and I've just coerced myself to do it and I feel absolute terror whilst I'm doing it. Oh my God, I'm so grateful that those are not my only two choices nowadays and I just don't do those. Don't do them. I know how to support the younger parts of me to move towards doing what my soul calls for. And that's why I have a sense that I'll be bringing back so back in about 2015, I created a course, Respond Lovingly to Your Calling, and I created another one a few years later, Psycho-Spiritual Entrepreneurship. Because really this is one of my passions, is how the soul comes into the world, gets affected by the DDC, is in interaction with the DDC and develops in particular ways. And then how do we continue on our soul's journey to do what we're here to do? And that was so much of what Psychosynthesis is about. On a Friday morning, we used to have a module, The Journey of the Soul. I mean, I'm passionate about this. And I offered those courses and I loved them. And then life said, yes, we know you love those, sweetheart, but for a few years, we just really want you to focus on aware parenting. So different to the Marion Method. We want you to write these books, la, 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 la. And yes, you want to too, because you want to, and now I'm really called to focus on the Marion Method. And where was I going with that? Yeah, but sometimes things take way longer. So my children's books, I had the first spark of those 20 years ago, and they're now coming out. And now I know why. So I've got a practice to support us, to trust the timing and to trust what shows up, but to also know when it's actually we need to do more willingness work and when we need to trust more life, or we're invited to trust more life. Oh my gosh, I just love this. I can feel this warm wind. Life. I love you, life. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm just looking at the time. I've got session soon. Oh my God. And so the part of the journey was like last year, okay, yeah, I can make courses and I can pre-record them and I can do that. But what I really want is I want to I want to be willing for life to speak through me more. I want to feel the resonance and aliveness of living this work so that I can just show up and people who resonate with it will feel that in their bodies, because I'm able to resonate it more. I'm willing to be more powerful and more safe, and safe while I'm more powerful and more loving in the true meaning of the word power, so that I can bring this work into the world more, which means showing up like this and increasing more and more. I'm willing to just keep going because I love this work so much, and I am willing for the people for whom this resonates, for it to get to more of the people who will, when they hear it or see it, they will say, yes, 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 this map, these models, these practices, these processes, they resonate with me deeply, and they practice them, and it supports them to become more who they really are. All of these tangible ways, these are tangible. So this is from the most esoteric map and model to the most tangible practices and processes, which is again why I prefer not to use many of the pop psychology words, because they often actually prevent things from becoming okay. So even things like low self-esteem, what I saw, and in myself as well, I was a psychotherapist, I was an academic, got years and years and years of working those worlds. And what I saw, to me it's increased even more now, because those terms just used to be used in psychology and they became more and more pop psychology. as is always psychospiritual, so it's always a calling to more. So I'm so glad that more and more people understand and want to understand or are interested in our true nature. And at the same time, there's ways in which these concepts actually prevent change and box people in more rather than less. So when someone might say that they have low self-esteem, and again, I so support anyone to say whatever helps my interest in languages. I'm here to support people to speak the words that help them feel most connected to their love and their will. And there are so many ways in which speaking particular words meets so many needs for community, for inclusion, for support, for compassion. And I so support that. So I so support you saying whatever words you want to say. And I'm giving information because if this resonates with you, they actually, you know what? When I say this phrase, I actually don't feel most connected with my love and my will. I actually have a sense of stagnation. I'm interested in movement and fluidity and flexibility and transformation to become more who we really are, whilst loving ourselves unconditionally, exactly where we are in every moment. And so I'm always interested in, and this came from my own experience as a younger person back in the 90s, when I was into what was called the New Age at the time, and I read all these books, just love yourself. So bearing in mind this was a time when I was hitting myself with the shame sticks, telling myself there was something fundamentally wrong with me. A whole inner dialogue was very, very, very harsh. And I was reading these books, which clearly was part of the calling. I want to, oh gosh, I'm full of shame. Just love yourself. I'd read these things and I'd be inspired by them. And I also had specifically though, I want to know specifically, what can I do to move towards increasingly loving myself? And because I didn't really see it existed, well, I saw parts of it and parts that I could learn from. And thank you, Marshall Rosenberg and MPC was a pivotal part of that. Language, the power of language to pass down what he called domination system, which he borrowed from Walter Wink, who used domination systems, another word. And Walter Wink got that from Rianne Eisler, who also talked about domination, cultures, domination. They used the word domination, then they changed the second word slightly in terms of how they were perceiving that. That was that lineage. I'm so grateful, because what I saw was that the language that we speak, that's how culture is passed down. One of the main ways, not all, one of the main ways. It's how disconnected domination culture conditioning is passed down. The words we speak help us feel either more connected with our true nature as love and will, or more, let's say, disconnect with that. So the opposite of that in terms of disconnected. So disconnected would be isolated, something innately wrong with us. And domination, so a sense of being forced, being pressured, powerlessness, So my invitation is always, and this is what the next book is about. I'm going to be doing, I think, all the podcasts, I think the next few will be related to this. I'm interested in what words, if I say this word, I feel more loving and powerful, true power, not power over. If I say this word, I feel kind of constricted. So for me, I'm interested in not low self-esteem. I'm interested, so what exactly do you say to yourself? How do you feel in your body when you say it? And I love you unconditionally when you say that. And of course you learned to say those because you needed to believe those things in order to be somewhat safe, somewhat beloved, somewhat belong. And I'd love to offer some reparative experiences and some different options, and so love and will again to support you if you want to move towards more and more an experience of knowing there's nothing wrong with you, that you are loved unconditionally exactly as you are, that your inner loving presences love you unconditionally as you are. And so for me, language is helpful, shortened versions, of course, are helpful. Summaries, helpful, isn't it? Rather than saying a whole sentence, to say one word or 2 words or 3 words. And I so support you using whatever words you want, and that's so many words and labels and diagnostic terms in the DDC many needs. What I'm interested in is creating a culture where no one needs to think there's something wrong with them in order to get their needs met. Where everyone is loved unconditionally, however, for their uniqueness, that we're all completely unique and everyone's loved unconditionally for whoever they are, however they show up, and will. So there might be some no's sometimes, if but love and will. So there we are. There we have it. I'm delighted to see that this is where this podcast is probably going. It's less and less of the... But it might be. Sometimes I might be like my barefoot shoes one. I might be like, you know what, I want to do the research and I want to do and I want to show lots of things. I may have a calling to do that again. At the moment, I have the sense that probably the next few are going to be more like this. I'm also doing more live streams again, back on the Facebooks. We also want to acknowledge that when I had that calling to do I want to just be willing for life to speak through me more. I want to do more transmissions. Who came along? Melanie and Leah. Now, Melanie and Leah was the mentor of Joanna Kingsford, who I launched a little course from back in 2014. She helped me share my courses in the world, which were part of what helped me develop my work and develop the Marion Method. Joanna, I'm forever grateful to you. Joanna started working with Melanie a few years later, and so every now and again I'd look at Melanie's work, and in terms of yeses and nos, I didn't resonate with it at all, just had a no. And then late last year, I suddenly was like, somehow or other, it's like, oh, this is what I want. I don't want to do my courses like this. I want to do more of this. And then I started, you know what? It's not a no anymore. See, slug wisdom. If you're watching the video, see, I'm moving for, I'm interested. That's part of a yes. Okay, I'll watch more. Maybe I'll join this free offering she's got. So I joined up and I watched her do what her version of, and her in her own different languaging of what I wanted to do, which is this: show up, and in my languaging, be willing for life to speak through me. And in some of those calls, I was so deeply touched. Some of them I would be sobbing. Some of them I would just, oh my God, the resonance, the feelings in my body of resonance. At certain times when she was sharing, I was like, oh my God, yes, this is what I want to learn how to do. And this person, Melanie, clearly knows how to do that. And I am so willing to learn from her. So thank you also, Melanie. I'm telling myself that you won't ever watch this or listen to it. But if you did, or if there are people here, because I did have mentees for years who were working with Melanie, and I was like, I just don't understand, just because I had a no. And that's part of what I've really learned. We might have a no for someone or some work for years, and then suddenly it's a big yes. Are we willing to trust that? Not coerce ourselves, not judge ourselves. Just like, well, it's a no for me, just no. Without judgment, without coercion, the simplicity in our life, our thank you life, which is to me, the way I live my life, is that simple question. Is it yes or no? To do the experiment of each step of life. And through experience, I learn, you know what, I did that and actually didn't enjoy that so much. And what will I do next time? Or, you know what, there was a little bit of a no there and I did actually override that. And look what happened. And each time to do it a little bit less and a little bit less until I just don't do it anymore. When we live our life and we have experiences that are not so enjoyable, and we're increasingly not willing to judge ourselves and not willing to coerce ourselves next time, that's part of the journey of the soul, to become more and more, to the personality to become more and more, not only the personality, to become more and more of a fit true reflection of our soul, but also our life. Our life becomes a more and more true reflection of our soul. Our home, our relationships, because we're responding. Oh, actually, yeah, I'd like to do more of that. I'd like to do more swimming in the pool most days. There's a reason why I say most. Talk about it in other offerings. The book that's coming out. I really don't enjoy. I did it again. I really have learned I do not enjoy doing X, Y, and Z. So if someone asks me again, I'm just going to say no. So then our life, it's like a more and more discernment, more and more nuance, more and more, what's that word? I cannot think of the word, but it's like subtle refinement of, we know who we really are, we know what our yeses and nos are, and our life increasingly then reflects that. Now I do want to say one more thing, which is so often in the more consciousness as cause work, which I wouldn't put this work in, but in terms of that, what we have a yes and no for does affect our experiences, doesn't 100% cause them. It has an interactional process with life. What about people who are experiencing horror right now? Beings are experiencing horror. That's to me why it's important to say it's our soul and life. And again, I'm grateful for Philip, who opened up this conversation for me, which is, there's so much bigger things going on. There is so much more powerful things happening in the world, in the cosmos, that me as an individual soul living within a personality in this time, I'm able to understand this much in my maps, so that I'm increasingly willing to understand more and more and more. But by nature, a human being with our consciousness, with our brain, with our consciousness that moves through our brain, if we were to see, I believe, and this is what often spiritual experiences are, and this is why in Psychosynthesis we learn about what happens, how do we integrate spiritual experiences, in other words, where we have experiences that are way outside our personality. How do we integrate those so that also our personality can stay moving through through our lives, rather than we have a psychotic break, or we become so identified with that experience that we cannot actually function in the world? Is I only have access to this much right now. I don't know. I don't know why. I can have guesses. I've got hypotheses about the bigger picture thing. I'm on a lifelong journey to understand more about consciousness and humanity and human beings, and why we're here, and why there is so much horror on this planet. So many reasons why I'm like, what am I doing here? I find it very painful to see the horror that's going on every day with many beings. I'm willing to learn and understand more about that in ways that are the least painful, in ways that I can integrate. So I believe if we were to all right now see the reality of everything, that we might have a cosmic consciousness experience. Well, we might do. We might see it all, and then say, and how do we bring that back into? There's clearly a reason why I'm Marion right now, and not just living in the field of all that is. I'm interested in that journey, and I'm also interested in understanding more and understanding why there's so much horror, because I care deeply about all beings, and I love certain spiritual traditions who have, it's a thing I learned in my 20s when I did Shivananda yoga most days. May I be filled with loving... Is this apt? Am I remembering accurately? May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. May all beings be filled with loving kindness. May all beings be well. May all beings be peaceful and at ease. May all beings be happy. Now because I'm really remembering that mostly from 30 plus years ago. I did remember it briefly about a year ago. I do not have the apt where's that from? So I'm acknowledging the true source of that. And I care deeply about anyone who's at the hands of horror or violence, deep suffering in this moment. I'm here, and this is why I'm doing my part to help us move towards more love and more true power, so that there's less horror in the world, and this is the way that I'm doing it. So I trust, I was going to say hope, I am willing for right now to be an answer enough for you in terms of if you do have that question, well, what does that mean? Because it's so often, and I think that's what happened with started off as a new thought movement and became more and more like do not have negative feeling, the whole negative feelings thing, in inverted commas. I do not use that term to the just think it and it will happen. Is it also then it becomes more and more like there's such a thing as a victim. I don't even like that victim mentality, don't like those terms, but that we are wholly, our individual self is responsible for everything that's happening to us. I do not believe that to be the case. I believe there's so many big things happening, and I just know a little bit of it, and I'm just sharing the little bit I know, and I'm willing to learn more and share more and I aim to do that always connected to the ground. Humility. I'm a little person who still got lots of little younger parts and got little plats, and humility as well as. So for me, that's the spectrum of holding in the Marion Method, each to love unconditionally all the little parts of us, all the most places in pain that are most disconnected and most powerless, to also all the way through to where we are most love and will. We are so powerful and so loving, and everywhere in between. And in my experience, myself and others, that at any point in time we can show up in anywhere, and that again, a spectrum, which is not a spectrum, it's a multi-dimensional holograph. So I think that's what I'm here to share. I could title that Why I Don't Say Procrastination and I Manifested It, and I might well do, or I might call it Hello, my name's Marion and this is what I love sharing about today. Who knows? We'll see what comes through. If you have watched and listened to some of this or all of this, thank you. Thank you. I'm really willing to tend to all the younger parts of me who weren't safe to be heard. So that increasingly I am willing to be heard. I'm so willing to tend to all the younger parts who felt so powerless and for whom it wasn't safe to have more power moving through them, so that I am able to have more power move through me, whilst also not claiming it as being my own. I'm just willing to keep going. And if this resonates with you, I'm so happy to hear that. And if it doesn't, I so honour your no. I really invite you, if you have a no for this, to really listen to that too. Thank you, and that was fun. Oh my gosh, podcasts. And also microphone. So I even just stopped using the microphones because lovely Kylie, who's a Marion Method mentor, she said to me in the Wonderfulness something like, "You're the person I love listening to the most," something like that. I was like, really? And it turned out that actually the sound quality is preferable through just my MacBook Air speakers rather than all the microphones that I've bought over the years, as I've been like, oh no, another microphone, that doesn't work. I'm willing to be heard by those with whom I'm safe, and I'm willing for ease. And go, this meets my need for ease. Just sit here, the lovely breeze, on my bed with my lovely sweethearts there, and I'm going to pop off now. And thank you. I love you unconditionally, exactly as you are. And if this work resonates with you, I'd be delighted to walk beside you in whatever way, shape or form that might be. That might be you listening to these podcasts. It might be I've got lots of free PDFs and things. There'll be more of those. My book's coming. at some point, the Wonder of Willingness book, courses, and I do have a sense that from now on, well, who knows, from now on until that changes, that I'm really willing for the courses to be like the Wonder of Willingness and just keep on being even more wonderful, immersive, speaking through me, and actually probably not for people who are brand new to this work. So this is part of these, the podcast will be more like, it's more like a filter for you to see, does this resonate? Oh, I'm starting to get used to Marion's term. Oh, she doesn't use the term procrastination, she doesn't use the term regulation. Why? Oh, okay. And does that resonate with me? Oh, actually that does. And do I feel more powerful and loving as I watch this podcast or listen? Yes, it does. I'm interested. So my invitation for you is to see if you're willing to practice listening to your yeses and nos in terms of this work. And the courses, my sense is, yes, there are still some that are recorded, that are still also like opportunities to say, okay, well, yeah, I did resonate with that podcast. I like have a go, read some of those free PDFs, and maybe we'll do one of those lower cost courses. And such a big, like my experience with Melanie. Yes. Okay, when's the next one? What have you got next, Melanie? Yes, it's a yes. Yes. If you have some kind of version of that with me, then hello. And wherever you have your yeses and nos, I so support you. My interest is in supporting you being who you really are. And if that means saying no to my work, I love that. That's part of the willingness work. I might really want somebody to do something, but I have a much more of a preference to support me with something, and I have much more of a preference for them to be truthful in their no. If they have a no for doing that, I'm much more joyful than if they coerce themselves to do something. Because the energy of doing something from coercion is not enjoyable. And there are all kinds of ways in the willingness work that we can come to willingness about things that we may not, that we want to be willing for, that we have values about, whether that's, all kinds of things. So again, I talk about that in the other work, but I'm not going to talk more. My eye's a bit itchy. I'm going to stop now. Thanks for watching or listening. If you have a yes, yum, let's meet more. I look forward to getting to know you more, and so much love to you.